Hey everybody, so I don't want every video to be about Hillary. It's just that I do have a following over here on YouTube, and she is, in my view, incompetent and corrupt and evil, and I don't want that for the next 4 years. So that's why I'm putting out these videos about what she's really about, because the media is not doing it, and I still talk to a lot of people who are simply unaware, who are just getting their information from the broadcast networks. And so I feel that I need to provide an alternative. Since I do have a following, it's part of my responsibility is to provide the truth. But I want to do a bit of a show and tell video today. I go back to talking about some of the things I prefer to talk about, not politics, money and currency. So this is a gold coin I picked up recently, and you can see it's from 1881. That's the year on it, and I'll show you the back so you can get a better feel of how common gold was in America at one point. So you can see it says United States of America, and then at the bottom it says 5D, which is short for $5. So this was a $5 coin. It was used in circulation. Again, 1881. How is it possible that people living this long ago, Americans living in the 1880s, had a better, more sound financial system than the one we use today? So this coin, although it's still in good condition, was likely used in transactions to pay for drinks at a pub, quite a few drinks if you're handing over a quarter ounce of gold for sure, but to pay for drinks at a pub or to pay somebody's rent, this was really used in the US for many years. And the US dollar was one of the best currencies around the world because it was a real thing, because it was gold or silver backed. And it was Nixon who took the dollar off the last remnants of gold linking and made the dollar a completely manufactured political entity, a thing that is not based in physical reality, not based in physical rarity. So gold and silver and digital currencies that are mineable, like Bitcoin, those things are all known as proof of work currencies. What that means is if you mine a Bitcoin, you've done a proof of work. You've run your mining software and you've solved for a block of Bitcoin. And so you've actually put in labor and time, or at least your computer has. With gold or silver, it's much the same. This is proof of work currency. Someone, somewhere, had to take the time to pull this extremely rare metal out of the ground. First, they had to find it, and then they had to pull it out of the ground. Then they had to refine it and melt it down and turn it into a gold coin. All of that costs time and money, which is part of why there's a floor to the value of gold. So the same with Bitcoin, it has mining inputs. It costs money to mine it. And what we have today is a promise of work rather than a proof of work. There's a big difference. So right now what we have is a bureaucrat in New York, Janet Yellen, the Federal Reserve chairwoman, and a bunch of bureaucrats in Brussels maintaining the European Central Bank and the euro. All they're doing is creating pieces of paper. Pieces of paper, that's it. So this is $5 today. It's this flimsy little sheet, $5. Maybe it buys me a burger up the street. Maybe it buys me a double cheeseburger. This was $5 in 1881. Real gold, almost entirely pure gold in this coin. Looks beautiful. If you handed this to me, I would certainly consider it money. But this is a promise of work. So they create it out of thin air. It's nothing but, digits in a computer, and Janet Yellen pushes a bunch of zeros, and then they can print more of these. They put the print order in, and a company that also makes stationery and greeting cards, they print currency for the United States and for other governments. So this is what we're dealing with today, is this totally faith-based nonsense that has no proof of work component whatsoever. They just inject this into the economy, and they're hoping and praying, it does say "In God We Trust" on the back, they're hoping and praying that somebody out there will want this $5 bill, and somebody out there will exchange some labor or some resources, some possession, in order to obtain it. Now this system breaks down entirely, as happened in Venezuela, when people start to go, you know what, I don't want the pieces of dirty paper that keep losing money and keep losing me purchasing power. I'll just go for the gold, or I'll just go for the silver, or I'll just go for the Bitcoin. Once that happens, this whole system falls apart like the shady house of cards it is, and I think we're very close to that moment. I think it's happening. I think what happened in Venezuela is merely the precursor to what we're going to see in some other countries and some other economies very soon. It doesn't excite me to see this happening. I'm just reporting what I think will happen, not financial advice, not a forward-looking statement. This is just, in my view as a researcher, where we are headed. We are headed to loss of faith and loss of confidence in fiat currencies because they are backed by nothing except for corrupt politicians. The Federal Reserve is supposed to be completely impartial, but just the other day, the Federal Reserve chairwoman was cornered by a lawmaker who had concerns that she's keeping the rates low to make Obama look better ahead of the election and to maintain this false status quo in our economy rather than raise the interest rates as many people think she should do. So if we get into a situation where more and more people, more and more participants in the economy think that the US dollar has become a political thing, which it has, once they think it's become political, then that really calls into question the impartiality of the Federal Reserve, and people lose confidence in it. And I think that will happen elsewhere too, not just with the dollar. This is all very predictable stuff in my view. It's all, the math is there, and the scenarios are there. We haven't seen it in our lifetimes, really, unless you live in Venezuela, but this is actually pretty common throughout history. People lose confidence and flee from currencies that don't store their purchasing power properly. From ancient Rome onward, people have left and fled currencies that no longer work, that are too debased to be functional. And in this case, this is completely debased. This represents, not only does this not represent $20 of gold, it represents no amount of gold. It represents no amount of Bitcoin. It represents nothing rare whatsoever. It's just a sheet of paper. And again, it's a promise of work. They really hope and pray that when they print these damn things, somebody out there will trade their time and labor or sit in an office at a job to collect some. And once that desire fails or fades, big problems for the dollar, big problems for these fiat currencies, which again delinked themselves only pretty recently in human history, 40-something years ago, delinked themselves from gold entirely. That is a house of cards waiting to fall apart, and as it does, I will cover it here on this YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.